The kingdom built on a single promise. Some hotels are created from logic, others from luxury. But this kingdom rising from an untouched stretch of wilderness, was built on a promise whispered long before the first stone was placed. A promise that one man made to community, to a landscape, and to a future no one else could yet see. The story began in a region forgotten by modern routes, where ancient paths wound through forests and rivers shaped lives more than roads ever could. The people who lived there carried a quiet resilience. Their traditions passed through generations like fragile heirlooms. The land was breathtaking, but isolated, and for decades, outsiders overlooked it, until the day a traveler arrived, a man who saw not remoteness, but potential. He spent a single night in a humble home and listened to stories by firelight. Tales of ancestors, storms, migrations, celebrations. Tales of community bound not by power, but by pride. That night, a promise formed inside him to build something that would honor the land and uplift the people who had guarded its stories for centuries. To understand why this hotel matters today, we must return to the moment he shared his vision with the community. He didn't speak of profit or prestige. He spoke of belonging. He imagined a sanctuary that would welcome the world without erasing the identity of the people who lived there. A kingdom not of wealth, but of dignity, where guests would be surrounded by local craft, local voices, local history woven into every detail. The elders listened with caution. Outsiders had made promises before. Few had kept them, but something in his determination, or perhaps in the humility of his dream, stirred their trust. They agreed not to a contract of money, but to a pact of purpose. The early plans reflected that purpose. Walls crafted from local stone, roofs shaped by traditional techniques passed down through generations, courtyards designed to echo the gatherings the community held under moonlight. Even the hotel's layout took inspiration from ancient village patterns, flowing to the land like an extension of the soil. But beauty born from tradition requires precision, and soon challenges surfaced. The stone the community favored was uneven, each piece shaped by nature rather than machines. It gave the walls authenticity, but made construction unpredictable. The timber used in the roofs expanded differently depending on where it was harvested. Patterns that looked symmetrical in sketches became asymmetrical when built by hand. These inconsistencies frustrated engineers, but they were a source of pride for the local artisans. Every piece had a story. Every imperfection held meaning. Tension rose as the two worlds collided, one driven by deadlines, the other by heritage. Then came a structural challenge neither side had anticipated. The ground beneath the planned central hall contained a hidden bed of ancient roots intertwined so deeply that clearing them would cause erosion. Removing them would be faster. Preserving them would be faithful. Both choices carried risk. It was the first sign that the promise guiding the project would be tested not once, but again and again. And the man who made that promise began to realize that honoring a community meant facing difficulties far more personal than any blueprint could show. The deeper the project advanced, the clearer it became. This wasn't just construction. It was a negotiation between past and future, a fragile balance that could collapse with a single misstep. As the project pressed forward, the balance between past and future grew increasingly fragile. Every day revealed a new contradiction. Engineers measured with precision, artisans shaped with intuition. The land offered beauty without uniformity. And the man who made the promise found himself caught between two worlds that needed each other, but did not always understand each other. The conflict sharpened around the central hall. The symbolic heart of the hotel meant to host gatherings that echoed the community's long-held traditions. The ancient root system beneath it forced a difficult choice. Removing the roots would allow quick progress, satisfying investors and stabilizing the schedule. Preserving them would protect the land's history, but required rethinking the entire structure. Meetings stretched into the night. Voices remained calm, but tension pulsed beneath every word. Engineers argued the roots were a hazard. Elders insisted they were sacred. The artisans spoke softly, yet their silence carried weight. They knew any decision made without respect would fracture trust forever. The man who had made the promise sat at the center of the debate, listening as the distance between intention and reality grew wider. During the standoff, another challenge surfaced. one that revealed how deeply the land itself would shape the story. Seasonal rains arrived earlier than expected. The soil swelled with moisture, shifting under the weight of partially finished structures. Stone walls settled unevenly. Wooden beams bent just enough to disrupt alignment. Even the decorative patterns carved by local hands began to warp as humidity seeped into the grain. Progress slowed. Frustration simmered. The hotel that was meant to unite two worlds now tested the patience of everyone involved. Yet the artisans refused to abandon their methods. They adjusted each stone by hand, listening to its rhythm against the wall. They treated timber through slow, traditional processes rather than industrial shortcuts. Their pride was not stubbornness. It was lineage. But to the engineers, every delay threatened the entire project. Tension rose like heat before a storm. One afternoon, when frustration peaked, an elder invited a man to walk with him deep into the forest. They said little until reaching a clearing where the roots of an enormous tree twisted in patterns older than anyone alive. The elder placed a hand on the bark and spoke quietly. If you ignore the roots, the land forgets you. If you honor them, the land protects you. It was not a command. It was a reminder of the promise. Returning to the site with renewed clarity, the man proposed a radical solution. Instead of building over the roots, they would build around them. The central hall would shift its shape, curving gently in respect to the earth. Engineers resisted at first. Altering the design meant recalculating everything. But as they studied the revised plans, they realized the adjustment could strengthen the structure, distributing weight more naturally across the terrain. This decision eased the conflict, but only briefly. A new obstacle emerged when the first lanterns of the hall, handcrafted by the community, flickered unevenly. The airflow of the redesigned curves created unexpected drafts. The light danced unpredictably across the room, creating patterns that seemed beautiful to some and chaotic to others. The hotel felt alive, but unpredictably so. Investors grew restless. The timeline tightened, and though the community admired the evolving design, they too felt the strain of a dream that demanded more sacrifice than expected. Yet beneath the turmoil, a truth waited to surface. The promise that birthed this kingdom was never going to be easy to keep. And the next phase of conflict will reveal just how deep that promise ran, and how much it would cost to fulfill it. The deeper the kingdom took shape, the heavier the promise became. What had begun as a gesture of goodwill now pressed on every decision, every argument, every moment of uncertainty. The hotel was no longer just a project. It was a symbol, and symbols demand more than structure. They demand truth. The conflict intensified as the engineers and artisans found themselves at a breaking point. The curved central hall, redesigned to honor the roots beneath it, had introduced airflow patterns no one had foreseen. Lantern light shimmered across the walls in unpredictable waves, beautiful to some, but unsettling to others. Shadows traveled in ways guests might interpret as flaws. Investors feared the hall would feel unfinished, imperfect, even old-fashioned. And yet the community saw the dancing light as a reflection of their heritage. Alive, shifting, full of spirit. Caught in the middle, the man who made the promise felt his certainty begin to fracture. He had vowed to uplift the community without compromising the integrity of the land. But now every attempt to honor one side seemed to strain the other. Meetings grew tense. Artisans feared industrial changes would erase their identity. Engineers warned that tradition alone could not guarantee safety or longevity. The hall was becoming a battleground for meaning itself. Then came the problem no one could ignore. One morning, after a night of heavy rain, workers found that part of the newly built courtyard had sunk several centimeters. The soil beneath it, softened by moisture and disturbed by construction, had shifted more than predicted. Cracks spidered across the stonework. A hand-carved pillar leaned ever so slightly off balance. The courtyard had been designed as the first space guests would enter. Now it threatened to become the project's greatest liability. Fear rippled through the team. If the soil continued to shift, the entire kingdom could destabilize. Engineers insisted on replacing traditional foundations with modern deep supports. Artisans argued that such supports would sever the land's living connection to the structures. Elders reminded everyone that the valley had always moved, that the people who lived there understood its rhythms better than outsiders ever could. The promise suddenly felt impossible to hold. But in the midst of conflict, clarity arrived from an unexpected place. A young craftswoman, quiet and often overlooked in technical meetings, stepped forward with a simple observation. She explained that her ancestors built their homes around the valley's shifting soil by allowing foundations to float, not resisting movement, but absorbing it. Their techniques distributed weight over wide, shallow bases, letting structures rise and fall subtly with the land. Her words shifted the room. Engineers examined the concept and realized the overlooked wisdom in it. By combining traditional floating foundations with modern reinforcement, the courtyard could remain stable without severing its connection to the earth. It was a revelation that bridged the divide, a design that honored the land, respected tradition, and satisfied structural requirements. But adopting this solution required dismantling part of what they had already built. Weeks of work had to be undone. Stone pathways were lifted. Pillars were temporarily removed. The team worked side by side, artisans guiding the shaping of new foundation plates, engineers calibrating their flexibility, elders watching with silent approval. And through this shared labor, something shifted not only in the ground, but in the people. The community and the construction team began to see each other not as obstacles, but as partners. The promise that once felt fractured began to mend. Yet the emotional peak of their struggle was still approaching. The lantern-lit hall, the symbolic heart of the project, remained unpredictable. The shifting shadows, the restless glow. Were they flaws to correct or the soul of the kingdom? To finish the project, they would need to answer that question. And the answer would determine whether the kingdom remained just a dream or became the living promise it was meant to be. The resolution began not with certainty, but with acceptance. As the final stages of construction approached, the project's greatest tension, the lantern-lit hall, remained unresolved. The shifting glow, the wandering shadows, the unpredictable patterns of light still divided opinion. Engineers questioned its consistency. Investors questioned its elegance. Yet the community saw something sacred in its living dance. The man who had made the promise understood that this hall would define the kingdom, not through perfection, but through meaning. So one evening, he asked the elders, artisans, engineers, and designers to gather in the hall after sunset. No tools, no diagrams, no arguments, just people and lantern light. As darkness settled, the lanterns flickered to life. Their glow moved gently across the curved walls, then softened as the valley breeze entered through the open arches. Shadows drifted in slow arcs. Light pulsed like a heartbeat. For a moment, no one spoke. The hall felt alive, not unstable, but breathing with the land. One elder finally whispered, "This is how our stories move." And in those 5 words, the truth crystallized. The hall was not flawed. It was faithful. It honored the promise in a way no static design ever could. The team realized they had been trying to control something meant to flow. The lanterns were not meant to be uniform. The shadows were not meant to be fixed. The hall was designed for gatherings that carried history, emotion, and memory is never still.